So you can find investors searching or going to their profiles. And when you're on a profile, you can add them to a list. So one way or another, you're going to find investors that are a good fit for you. So I'm add them to a list. I'm going to create a new list here. I'm just going to say seed investors 2025. And then they're on that list. An even easier way of adding, if you already have like a list existing, or you have a whole bunch of kind of social URLs, LinkedIn profiles for people, what you can do is to go to your list that we just started in Distill, and then I'm going to add a profile, and then you can search for individual profile. Like so search for in again, or what I can do is add a whole bunch at once, which is what I want to do here. So I'm going to go under the second one. I'm just going to paste in all the LinkedIn URLs. So this is 89 entries here. So I'm adding them all. And then what Distill does is go off and build all the profiles for these people, although we already have them. Usually, if we don't, then it can take a minute to load. So here we're just loading a profile that I guess is new. First time will take a couple of minutes. And so what we're going to do after we've added here, so we get an about column, we get some notes, and I'll drag this note one over here. I think what else I'll do, we're going to add a column for their, let's just say their URL. So we'll have their LinkedIn URL here on the thing as well, although the Distill profiles also have the LinkedIn URLs on them. So we can just remove that if we want to. So you can come back in here and just hide that. What we are going to add is a status column. So add a status, it kind of gets pre-filled with some statuses that make sense. So new, qualified, intrapath. If we already have an intrapath email, so I'm just going to leave these, but they work fine. Always change them later. So I'll move that up to the beginning. You can keep track of status. These are all new people. And then I'm also going to want to add an intro paths column, although we'll come back to that in a second. But we'll just add that right now. So intro paths, we're also just going to have that be over here because that's important. And then finally, when I click on any of these profiles, we can see some assessment context questions. We don't have any right now. So we're going to go in and add a few questions here. And before we do that, we're going to go in and add like context about my startup and then what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for seed investors, and we're going to add some questions. So I'll just take care of that real quick. So now I've added in a little description of the startup. And then I've also added what I'm looking for, VC investors, angels for our seed round of funding. And I just put a couple questions in here. How do they invest in anything similar? What types of companies do they normally invest in? What might they like about what I'm working on? So, saving those changes, it'll still automatically kind of populate those. So we'll come over here and we can see for any of these, this person hasn't invested in anything similar to your startup. Just using a friend startup. Here's the example. Yes, they have. Yes, they have. What types of companies do they normally invest in? Give some examples what they're investing in. Normally investing companies across various healthcare, fintech technologies. So healthcare pretty far away. What they like about what I'm working on. Great notes ahead of the call. But this is pretty useful. We can also create a public link to this thing, so we can send this link to anybody we want to, and they can come in here and see everything about this. Although they won't see the assessment questions, but they'll still see the about and kind of the other information. And if I want to get people to help me for the intro path section specifically, what I can do is invite users, just put in their email address. They'll be able to sign up for Distill, go right into the product. They'll install the browser extension so we can grab their contacts. And then when they're filling in intro paths, if they know the person, it'll select that. And if they don't, it'll show what paths they have to that person if they have any. So it can take a second to load. And once it loads, I can kind of scroll through here, and let's just say I'll just pick Elizabeth. If I go to someone where I actually know them, if I'm scrolling down and looking through just anyone I know directly versus like who do I get in touch with. So here I've already selected one person I know. So what that looks like is open the paths. I know the person, so I'll just select them. And then what other people will see here when you're inviting them to it or send a public link is like who is going to intro to who. And so you can invite people to this list so they can edit it, so they can actually put in here. Otherwise, they could just put into the notes section, but you'd still want to invite them to it. And then they can put in whoever they know, if they know them directly, if they want to ask someone for an intro, and then see it all. And then as you need to, you can intro path selected, like, cool, we want that one. We're going to ask Russ for this one, or we're going to ask someone else for theirs. Who's got the better one type of question. And then we're going to go off and email them. Then we'll, in contact engage on if this passed success, got an investor, DQ'd. So if you, for example, read these answers, like, Hannah has not invested anything similar, then it's easy for us to come in here and we can always just remove her or put her down at the end of the list and get her off the list, or put her at the very bottom of the list so we can prioritize this list. And so this is a way you can use Distill List to basically, instead of a Google Sheet or something else, if you have a Google Sheet, you can easily create a list out of it by adding all the profiles in here. You can export this whole thing if you want to back to CSV with all the data and all the answers and everything about them. So you can pretty easily go back to your spreadsheet if you want to. But hopefully this, with the notes, intro paths, status, an about field, custom questions here can help you kind of put together the people. You can also do it with companies, same thing with companies as for people, but get down to who you are trying to get in touch with. And one thing to note, if you are putting companies on the list, then you can have separate questions for these companies. Ultimately, you're going to need to know who at a company, though, is the best person to get in touch with. You can still use intro paths with companies. It'll just fill out who they know at that company, if they know anybody at that company, or how they can get in touch with that company through their own network. So give it a try.